good find.
Yeah, those things are worth a fortune. I've had a couple in my lifetime, but yeah, well, that stuff's worth a fortune. Well, that brings me back to that. Like I said, I used to buy that stuff years ago. I bought out of a house a bunch of that stuff, uniforms and the whole uniform. That was the one I wore at that Halloween party. That was a fail. You don't do that.
No.
And no, but some of that stuff, the Japanese and the German stuff, the medals, the uniforms, and them pistols in mint condition. My goodness, I wouldn't even know what that would go for today. It'd be an outrageous price, probably.
Well, I had an SS officer's cap. It was like, I think, a colonel's, and I had part of the tunic, but it was really in bad shape. Now, when I was a kid, now I'm going on 68 years old, you could go online. There were some companies that sold World War II junk, like helmets, uniforms, bayonets, and stuff like that, and medals and all that stuff. You could buy the stuff dirt cheap, and I was an idiot when I started collecting this stuff when I was in junior high school. When I wanted my car, I started selling this stuff. And I remember the cap. A guy gave me a couple $100 for it, and then after a week or two later, I found out he owned an antique store in West Seattle. And I went over there, and he had the thing there. Back that time, it was like he had it marked $900.
Yeah, believe me, I know. I had an SS Waffen Oben Grubenfuhrer cap that went with the uniform. But yeah, just the cap alone would bring $2,000-$3,000. I had the Knight's Cross with the oak leaves and the swords medal. That thing's worth probably $5,000 now. I don't know, but that stuff's outrageous. And that place you're talking about used to be out of Missouri.
Yeah, I think
you're
so.
Right. Yeah, it was out of Missouri. It was a wholesale out of Missouri, real stuff. And you could buy it dirt cheap. Boy, if you bought all that stuff now and held on to it for about 20, 30 years, you'd be rich.
Oh, yeah. And the thing is, then there was an Army surplus store called Winter Surplus up in Seattle. And I don't even know if they're still in business. But, when I was a young kid, my dad would go, that was one of his weekend things. Every weekend he would go to that and then electronic stores and who knows what else. And I went in there one time and they had a whole bunch of World War II, German, and World War I bayonets. And they were cheap, like $2-3 a piece with the scabbard, the whole everything. And I bought tons of them. And again, when I got older and wanted a car, I sold them and was getting like $50-$100 a piece for them. And, a lot of the stuff was even brand new because when, the war ended, there was still stuff in the factories and stuff like that. It was strange. You could even buy a rifle, a Mauser rifle, for almost nothing, like $19.
Yeah, and a lot of that stuff they called a trench art. They would take the shells from like one of them shells you were playing with and other shells and make things out of it, and a lot of that stuff's worth a fortune today. And, like you say, you could buy that stuff for dirt cheap. The helmets, you could buy them, but now, man, they're worth a ton. All that stuff is even American, Korean, Japanese, all of it, the old stuff. Well, I mean, let's face it, World War II is, 75 years ago or better. So, this stuff's drying up.
Oh, yeah. It is. But, I just remember when I was a kid, I used to collect that stuff because I thought it was interesting. My biggest score when I was in junior high school, we would go in Seattle, downtown by the Pike Street Market, down by the waterfront. There was a whole bunch of these, like Salvation Army, St. Vincent de Paul, but they were like the old style, not the new style buildings. I'm talking in buildings that were dirty, dingy. You walk down the basement and here's the, Goodwill at that time. And you go in there and they had all kinds of stuff. I mean, I picked up German helmets in there for like a couple bucks. But one of my friends that turned me on, he goes, "Hey, Gary, I can tell you how we can come down here every week and make a lot of money." People used to donate silverware. And they would have big bins of silverware. And we noticed when we would go through it, a lot of it was sterling silver.
Oh, wow.
And so, again, we would buy as much as we could. We'd take it up to a couple places we know would buy it. And, we would spend maybe $2-3 and we would come out like with 100 or so. Hey, again, when you're in junior high school, $100 is a lot.
It is a lot.
Back then, it'd be equal probably about 400 now.
Yeah, easily. You know, that's like when I was 12, me and my friend, we had this idea how to get rich. We was going to buy these baseball cards by the case and just put them away, you know, and then like 10 years later, we'd sell them. And they were 1975 baseball. And hell, they're worth a fortune today. Just one box probably worth $2,000 to $3,000, and there's 24 boxes in a case. We was gonna buy a case a week, but you know, at 12 years old, that would be like, I think it was like $20 a month. But you know, we just didn't have the money back then. It was a lot of money. My parents didn't want to hear it, but we would have been millionaires today if we did that.
Well, one of my kids used to collect Pokemon cards and baseball cards, and he had thousands of them. And one of my older kids, started stealing them, you know, and naturally he only stole the ones that were worth money. And then my one son, when he got old enough, he goes, well, I'm going to buy a new car. And I go, where are you going? Oh, I got all these cards. And then he started going for, you know, bringing them up case after case. I mean, he had thousands of them, right? All he had is the cards that were worth nothing because the other kid in my family took all the ones that were worth anything. And, you know.
Oh, boy. That might have caused some internal problems.
And then my other son, because I have 6 kids, sons, and 2 daughters. One of them is a house clean freak addict. You know, everything has to be spotless. And my other son had, actually 2 of my sons had tons of Pokemon cards. And they go up and down in value. Now, the original one's going back, you know, like 20-some years ago or more, you know, like 25, 30 years ago. It was worth a lot of money. And again, they went looking for it. Well, number one, don't stash them down in the basement in boxes because somebody will go down there and start cleaning. And then my other son goes, yeah, I got rid of those a couple of years ago. I burned them all.
Oh, my God. Oh,
they were just sitting there. I didn't think you wanted them.
No, you didn't think to ask either. Oh, boy. He must have about died when he heard that.
Wow. Oh, yeah. I think not him, but I think my other son almost died from it because he got a bad fight going instantly. Hey, tonight, later on here in just about 15 minutes, we got Mary A. Joyce on, and she's going to be talking about Bigfoot and stuff. Her newest book is out, and she's going to be talking about Bigfoot, you know, and a whole bunch of sightings about Bigfoot. And, you know, she's saying that some of the sightings, again, these Bigfoots are befriending people, humans. So we're going to be talking about that. That's going to be interesting. And then later on tonight, we got our other guests on, and we're going to be talking about her latest novel. So
that sounds intriguing. I'm looking forward to it. We haven't had Mary Joyce on in a while, and she's always got some good stuff to report on. And plus, she's got a new book to talk about, too, so that's going to be good.
Oh, yeah. So, I really enjoyed our conversations last night. It was a good show.
Oh, it was. Lon really got into some detail about his sighting of Bigfoot when he had his own sighting and some of these other cryptids that he's been reporting on for the last year or so. And because I've been following a lot of those stories and researching myself, and they're just, I tell you, some of them is just mind blowing. And like he said, those witnesses are very credible witnesses. They're not, somebody's trying to get fame. They don't even want their name known. You know what I mean? So it's very credible stories. And the thing is, it's not just one. There's dozens of these from different people. And it's all the same from the same area, Yeah,
but the Mothman thing, it's so many reportings of it, and they're claiming like 6-7 foot tall. But again, I don't know. Maybe people exaggerate the height. But ever since I went and looked at that one picture of that hairy bat you talked about.
Oh, I know.
If I saw one of those, I would think it's a baby Mothman. I would tell you that because they're about 3 feet tall, and they are covered. Go ahead.
Yeah, and have you ever seen a harpy eagle? I know they're not native here, but they look just like the picture of a Mothman. My goodness, you look up a harpy eagle, a picture of one. They're huge, and their face looks like the face of a Mothman. It's weird.
Yeah, but the funny thing is, Mothman started out in one part of the country, And now they're being seen everywhere. But these things go in a cycle, James. Look at Dogman. Okay?
Yeah.
If for a while, Dogman was seen everywhere. Well, you don't get much reports on, Dogmen anymore. Everything kind of like starts off on a cycle and then dies.
Yeah, and there's a lot of reports now. It's a lot of in cycle now of winged humanoids, whether that be Mothman or these pterodactyl types or whatever they are. A lot of winged humanoid type sightings. Now, I don't know if you can kind of group all that into one, and some people call it Mothman, or some people just call it winged humanoid, or maybe they're just seeing something that hasn't been in that area, like a big bird of some sort. I don't know. I just know that is on the rise, a lot more sightings of these things.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if it's going to keep rising, and then all of a sudden it's going to be some other creature out there.
Yeah, right. And I'm kind of wondering, too, because I like to look for patterns and cycles and things like that when I research these things. And winter coming, I wonder if the sighting is going to go up in colder areas that they've been in, or if they're going to go down. That would be just some more data to add to it.
I don't know. How about in your area? Has there been any sightings of Mothman or anything like that?
No, the only thing you really get sightings around here is Bigfoot. They call him Grassman here. You got the Salt Fork area. So probably at one time it was the most sightings of Bigfoot this side of the Mississippi. I think it's went down now some because a lot of sightings in Pennsylvania and surrounding states. But there's always sightings here and there around there. I've got my flyers up. I haven't heard of any new recent reports lately, but that's surprising because there's a lot of deer hunters out right now. But I would think somebody might maybe see something. Now, there was somebody did find what they call a nest. Now, is somebody out in the woods playing a joke and putting this nest type thing together that's big enough to hold a big beast? I don't know. But I could surely tell you that a black bear didn't do it. That's for sure.
Yeah, I can tell you that maybe some people out there have sex. What am I thinking sex about? It's not even Saturday yet. They have a sick sense of humor, okay? And they do that. They make little structures and stuff like that. There's a guy up here in Washington State. Now, I think he's passed on. But he was bragging when he got older that he used to do that. He would take all these sticks and put them up, and go out. And he would just spend days doing this stuff all the time to give, the Bigfoot a name. And people would say, oh, gee, a Bigfoot has done this, And the guy even was making, footprints and all that stuff. And people were, eating it up like you wouldn't believe. And then when he got really old, he kind of said, hey, I used to do this. And some of these reports that have been reported were not real. They were ones I did.
Right. And, one thing that I throw out if I'd ever hear it, because of today, there's so much with the internet and the TV shows, these wood knockings and these howls. You've got everybody and their brother out there beating on trees and howling. Who's to say when you hear that if it's not really Bigfoot or a professional howler or knocker? You just don't know anymore.
Well, I just still remember that one guest told me that he was out there and he heard Bigfoot knocks on the tree, right? And as they were coming back on the trail, they run into another group of people, and the other group of people said, hey, did you hear those Bigfoot knocks? And the guy goes, yeah, I heard them. And he goes, yeah, we were knocking back to it, and it was answering us. Well, guess what? They were talking to each other.
I know it. I got a feeling that's common, so much so that people don't even realize. Because here's the other thing: think about all the people that don't run into each other that were knocking back and forth to each other that didn't even know they were out there. You know what I mean? And it's unfortunate. People are enthusiastic; they want to get out there and do things and try to research this. But unfortunately, there's a lot of people doing that, and it might not even be Bigfoot. It might be other humans.
Yeah, that's the whole problem. Anyway, we're going to be back with the news. So hang in there. We're going to take a break for 3 minutes. We'll be back with James giving us the Earth news.